His blessed character, a guiding light. His blessed character, a guiding light. Inspiring greatness in day and night. Inspiring greatness in day and night.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Mursaleen. Amma ba'd, fa'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wassalatu wassalamu alayka ya Rasulallah wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Habiballah. Wassalatu wassalamu alayka ya Nabiyallah wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Nurallah. Welcome, dear viewers, to another episode of our program, Blessed Character of the Beloved Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Inshallah, in this episode, again, we'll hear about a beautiful aspect of the character, the noble character of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, with a view to implementing it in our own lives, inshallah. Before we begin, let's hear an excellence of reciting Durood Sharif, Salat ala Nabi. It's mentioned in Tirmidhi Sharif, the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, "Indeed, on the Day of Judgment, the person who will be most closest to me will be the one who had recited the most salawat upon me. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam." Dear viewers of Madani Channel, this is our program in regards to the blessed character of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. How was the character of the Prophet alayhi salam like? How beautiful was it? At what level had it reached? What was the level of its perfection, elevation? Inshallah, this and much more will be revealed in this program of ours. We should know from the offset that the Prophet ﷺ was sent for this purpose. Yes, one of the main purposes was to beautify character, improve character, to better the character of people. We know which society he came into. We know the character of the people at that time. The character of people was at the lowest level of the spectrum. And the Prophet ﷺ transformed the character of those people in Arabia and granted them the best character. He ﷺ said, "Bu'ithtu li'utammima makarim al-akhlaq." I was sent to perfect beautiful character. And Rasulullah ﷺ also said, and this is narrated by Sayyidina Jabir radiyallahu an, "Inna Allah lam yab'athni muta'annitan walakin ba'athani mu'alliman muyassiran." Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't send me someone who will be stern, strict. Rather, he sent me as a teacher and as someone who provides ease, who simplifies things. In particular, the character of the Prophet ﷺ was filled with gentleness, politeness, kindness, love, affection, mercy. Subhanallah. So much so that his andaz, his manner of rectifying people, his manner of informing people of right and wrong, this was second to none. Meaning, people who spent years and years in his noble company, they saw firsthand that the Prophet ﷺ wasn't harsh, wasn't severe to them, wasn't strict towards them. He was always merciful. He was always kind and polite. Subhanallah. Let me give you an example of this. Sayyiduna Anas radiyallahu ta'ala, a khadim khas of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, someone who spent 10 years in the company of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You only have to spend a month or 6 months, a year to learn what somebody is like inside and out. But here, Sayyidina Anas radiallahu anhu spent 10 years. From what age to what age? From 8 till the age of 18. This is what the ulama have written. And during that time, a kid, a youngster, a young child may do many things that are wrong. At times may be inappropriate in their manner of speaking, their way of doing things. And parents, they always tell the children off, don't do this, don't do that, this is wrong. But listen to what Sayyidina Anas radiallahu ta'ala says. He says that during that 10-year period, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam never once said oof to me, never once scolded me, never once did it. And he didn't say to me, why didn't I do such a thing? Allahu Akbar Kabira. This was the beautiful character of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which won over the hearts of people. People were willing to sacrifice everything for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is why. The way he dealt with them, the way he spoke to them, the way he carried out transactions with them, the way he sat with them, as we will hear, subhanallah. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was very merciful, and this is documented comprehensively in all of the books of seer, the biographies of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Let's listen to another example. Sayyidina Muawiyah bin Hakam, a Sahabi of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says that one day I had the honor of offering salah with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Somebody sneezed, and I said, Yarhamukallah. And that's what you normally say when somebody sneezes. May Allah have mercy upon you. And if you've heard them sneeze, it's wajib to say that. And this was happening during Jama'at, during the prayer. And when this happened, and I said Yarhamukallah, the other companions who were senior, who were older, they began staring at me. And this is during the prayer. He says, I became distressed. What's going on here? What's happened? Then he says that the other companions who were in the Jama'at, they began tapping their thigh. And this is when I realized that during prayer, you're not supposed to reply to the sneeze. You remain quiet. This is not the maqam to reply. Sayyidina Muawiyah bin Hakam radiallahu anhu says that when the prayer had concluded, the prayer had finished, the Prophet ﷺ gave salam and he called me towards him. And look at this beautiful way of doing islah, of rectifying. He says the Prophet ﷺ called me close and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and he describes, he's overcome with emotion. Sayyidina Muawiyah bin Hakam, and he relates this afterwards, after the incident, he says, فَبِأَبِي هُوَ وَأُمِّي مَا رَأَيْتُ مُعَلِّمًا قَبْلَهُ وَلَا بَعْدَهُ أَحْسَنُ تَعْلِيمًا مِنْهُ. May my mother and father be sacrificed upon Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. I never saw someone before him or after him who was better in teaching than him, in instructing than him. Allahu Akbar kabira. What happened? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam called the Sahabi close by, and the Sahabi says, "Wallahi ma darabani, wala sabbani, wala naharani, walakin qal." He says, "By Allah, the Prophet ﷺ never hit me. He never insulted me, never swore at me. Wala naharani, he did not scold me. Walakin qal." However, he said, "Inna salataka hadihi la yasluhu fihi shay'un min kalamin nas." That this salah of yours that you just offered, it's not appropriate to include within the salah anything from the speech of people. So when you're offering salah, basically don't say anything that is not part of the prayer. Don't discuss anything, don't say anything, don't converse, don't say any words that are not included within the prayer. Just like the Sahabi had said, Yarhamukallah, إِنَّمَا هِيَ تَسْبِيحٌ وَتَكْبِيرٌ وَتِلَاوَةُ الْقُرْآنِ. The Prophet ﷺ said that namaz only consists of tasbih, takbir, and recitation of the Quran. Tilawat al-Quran. So this was the manner of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Look at the Sahaba. The Sahaba was staring at the child. The child became upset. He was distressed. Look how the Prophet ﷺ de-escalated that situation. He took care of that situation. And now this child, he's won the heart of the child. The child says, "May my parents be sacrificed upon Rasulullah ﷺ. I never saw anyone before him or after him who was better in instructing and teaching than him." Why? Because this Sahabi, Sayyidina Muawiyah bin Hakam radiallahu anh, himself is the recipient of the beautiful good character of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the way we need to deal with people. This is the way we need to spread Islam, to invite towards Islam. Deal with people beautifully, they will come close. Subhanallah. Let's listen to another account. And there's so many accounts. The life of the Prophet ﷺ is replete with beautiful accounts like this. On this occasion, a youngster came to the court of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he mentioned something, he asked about something that, if we're honest, it's not something that you could say, that any ordinary person could say. It may even be considered vile. You can't even imagine saying this. He said, "Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, give me permission to commit fornication, zina." Allahu Akbar kabira. When the Sahaba heard this person, this youngster speaking like this, they became very angry, as you can expect. And they rebuked him. "What are you saying?" However, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam called this youngster closer to him. And in a very beautiful way, he said, "Oh youngster, أَتُحِبُّهُ لِأُمِّكَ?" This very thing that you're asking me about, would you like this for your mother? Ma'adallah, would you like that somebody does this action with your mother? And he said, "Of course not." The Prophet ﷺ said, وَكَذَلِكَ النَّاسُ لَا يُحِبُّونَهُ لِأُمَّهَاتِهِمْ. Similarly, just like you don't like it for your mother, people do not like this for their own mothers as well. And the Prophet ﷺ asked him, أَتُحِبُّهُ لِأُخْتِكَ? Do you like this for your sister? For someone to do this with your sister? And again he said, "Of course not." The Prophet ﷺ said, "Likewise, the people do not like this for their own sisters as well." أَتُحِبُّهُ لِعَمَّتِكَ? The Prophet ﷺ asked him, "Would you like for someone to do this with your paternal aunt?" He said, "Of course not." The Prophet ﷺ said, "The people wouldn't like this for their paternal aunts as well." So in such a beautiful way, the Prophet ﷺ told him about the depravity, the disgusting and filthy nature of the question, of this act. What are you even asking? Premarital relations, committing zina, committing fornication, adultery. Allahu Akbar. Then the Prophet ﷺ said to him, فَاكْرَهْ لَهُمْ مَا تَكْرَهُ لِنَفْسِكَ وَأَحِبَّ لَهُمْ مَا تُحِبُّ لِنَفْسِكَ. Allahu Akbar. Prophet ﷺ said, if this is the case, you don't like this for your mother, your sister, your aunt, and dislike for people what you dislike for yourself, and love for them what you love for yourself. He gave a parameter, he gave a criteria, he gave a standard, gave a formula, you could say. Abide by this your entire life. What you like for yourself, like for others. What you dislike for yourself, dislike for others as well. Allahu Akbar Kabira. So this is how the Prophet ﷺ taught this youngster. And the narration states that he detested what he asked about, detested this act so much that thereafter it never crossed his mind. His heart became pure of that thought. Subhanallah. Look at the question, look how the Sahaba reacted, but then look how the Prophet ﷺ diffused the situation, how he calmed the situation down, and he taught him the correct way, the way of Islam, the way Allah Ta'ala wants, for lineages to be protected, for zina, adultery and fornication to be kept far away from creation, from the Muslims in particular, and to only go into such relations through the act of nikah, the act of marriage. That's the only way it's going to be halal. Subhanallah. So this was the way of the Prophet ﷺ. That in all states, and we covered this in the first episode as well, that akhlaq hasana means in all states you adopt beautiful character. Not when it suits you or when it's favorable for you. In all situations, this good character demands from you that you are good in all conditions, all circumstances and situations. Now the Prophet ﷺ, he wouldn't change based on the conditions, based on circumstances, based on uncomfortable situations. Sayyidina Uthman bin Affan radiallahu anhu, Uthman Ghani radiallahu ta'ala says, we traveled with the Prophet ﷺ. We stayed with the Prophet ﷺ near his home, in travels, hadar, safar. And we know that in safar, sometimes the weather is not conducive, sometimes someone's ride plays up. Anything can happen in travels. And you become very irritated, agitated even. But Sayyidina Uthman bin Affan radiallahu anhu says the beautiful way of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was that he was not affected by any of these things in any way. كَانَ يَعُودُ مَرْضَانَا وَيُشَيِّعُ جَنَائِزَنَا. The Prophet alayhi salam would continue visiting those who were sick, and he would always attend the funerals. Meaning it doesn't matter how far he had to travel, what the situation's going to be like, what the conditions were, whether it will be an easy journey, a difficult journey. This was a ma'mul of his. He would continuously do this. He would visit the sick. Whenever he found out someone sick, he would go and visit them. This is a sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Whenever he found out about someone passing away, he would go and offer the janazah of that believer. Let's hear a bit more about what these Sahaba observed. Sayyidina Anas radiallahu ta'ala, on one occasion, he beautifully said that whenever a person shook hands with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would not remove his own hand, his own blessed hand, until the other person would be seen to do the same. He would continue shaking the hand of the person until both sides began to withdraw their hands. The Prophet ﷺ wasn't the first to do so. Subhanallah. Now this could be due to various reasons. The person who's honored to shake hands with the Prophet ﷺ, he probably wants to, wants this handshake to last forever, to gain barakah. That's probably one of the reasons why he's delaying. It could be because of la ilmi, he doesn't know. Also, the Sahabi states, whenever somebody was in the court of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Prophet ﷺ would stay attentive towards that person as long as he was there. As long as that person was there, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would conversate with him, speak to him, guide him, instruct him. And when that person would leave, only then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would turn his attention elsewhere. Subhanallah. Meaning it wasn't the case that the Prophet ﷺ would make that person leave, not pay attention to him, turn his attention elsewhere whilst talking to him mid-conversation. No. He would stay attentive towards one person, and only then would he look towards someone else or start a conversation with someone else when that first person has finished and he's left. The third thing he says, Sayyidina Anas radiallahu anh, is that whenever the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sitting amongst his Sahaba, the Prophet alayhi salatu wasallam would never stretch his feet, his blessed feet out towards them in their direction. Now think about it. If the Prophet ﷺ did this, the Sahaba would consider this an honor. that the best of creation, ﷺ, is stretching his blessed feet towards us. Who knows what blessings, barakat, rahamat we will receive. Why? Because he is the greatest wasila in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is the beloved of Allah, the most closest to Allah. And if he's stretching his blessed feet out in my direction, Allahu Akbar Kabira, what more can I ask for? But the Prophet ﷺ would not do that. The Sahaba would perhaps end up kissing the feet of the Prophet ﷺ. We know that from their blessed actions. They would take the tabarruk from the blessed feet of Rasulullah ﷺ. This was their jazba, this was their iman, this was their mahabba. But Rasulullah ﷺ would not stretch out his feet towards them. This was because of his blessed character. This was his character. He would give respect to his Sahaba, subhanallah. And he would honor them, he would revere them. Even though he is the master, they're the ghulams. But look at his beautiful character, subhanallah. So in this episode, we've heard about the vast hikmah of Rasulullah ﷺ in dealing with people, rectifying people, improving their states, and telling them when they were wrong. He never scolded them, rebuked them. He used beautiful words, and he taught his Sahaba through his character in how to deal with people. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all tawfiq to follow the prophetic way and adopt the way of the Prophet ﷺ in dealing with people and in dealing with situations. Ameen bijahi nabi ameen sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
His blessed character, a guiding light. His blessed character, a guiding light.